We're going to try to learn from a book which is called Torah Ohr. Torah Ohr is a compilation of Maimorim, discourses which were given by the first Lubavitcher Rebbe. It wasn't Lubavitch, it was Chabad. Lubavitch was only, the Chabad movement moved into the city of Lubavitch only after the first Rebbe passed away. But the first Rebbe, he was the one who wrote the Tanya. And he was the one who wrote the Shulchan Aruch of the Alter Rebbe. When he was just a child, he was a total genius. He was expert in all the books of Kabbalah and all the books of this, of Gemara and Talmud and and the explanations. And then he went to the Maggid of Mezrich to learn the ideas of prayer. In other words, how to make all these wonderful Jewish ideas about the oneness of God, the unity of God, and how God creates everything, but how to make it actually come into our hearts. It's a very difficult thing. That a person should actually get as excited about God and have love for God and have fear for God and have emotions for God and have devotion to God and to be excited about God and to be happy about serving God and not in a religious way, in a day-to-day way, that you feel God is creating everything and you feel purpose in every moment of your life. And this is basically the work of Abraham. It was begun by Abraham. Abraham was the first Jew. We're going to learn about this in a moment. I just want to make a little introduction. We just learned last week about Noah. Noah was it says he was a tzaddik tamim. He was a pure tzaddik. Noah had reached the heights of spiritual unity and integrity and realization, to the point where he could withstand the pressures, peer pressures of the world of his time. Peer pressure is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, influence on human personality there is. Right? We see nowadays kids, God forbid, they commit suicide. They get bullied, online and things like that. What somebody says about you is very, very important. To fit in, people need friends. They need, how do you say? A man is a social being. And if in Noah's time, everybody was against him. Everybody was enjoying themselves, having pleasure, doing whatever they wanted to. And he was the only one that had the spiritual, how did I say, integrity, the reality. He lived in a reality of values that were so real to him. He was willing to forego all of the pleasures and all the acceptance and all these things that everybody was doing. Tremendously high. He built his soul to a tremendous high level. That was wonderful. But that's not what God wants exactly. It's like a step. It's in the right direction, but it's not what God wants. What does God want? God wants someone like Abraham, that Abraham was willing to give his soul. He was willing to sacrifice his soul. It's called Mesirut Nefesh. He gave over his soul. He gave over his will, even his spiritual desires. He gave over everything to do what God wants. So we see that Abraham did all these really very strange, things that really have nothing to do with any normal religion. The main ones being that he circumcised himself when he was 99 years old, which that's not a very simple thing to do. Don't try it at home. Don't try it on your grandfather or something.
Was there circumcision before that? Did God teach him how to do it?
Could have been. No, they didn't. He said that he didn't know how to do it. That he had to take advice from his friends, and he had to this, and God held his hand. There's all sorts of stories. But nevertheless, it's pretty. I've seen circumcisions of people that were like over 30. I've been present on this and this, and it's a very major thing. It's not, it's comparable to, let's say, a person, God forbid, cutting off his thumb. There's blood and it's hurt and it's a very major thing. Anyway, so Abraham somehow did this, and what did he do it for? In order to give birth to a son. And he had the son had the same principles as he did. And Abraham saw that it was gonna work. And then God said, take him and kill him. And that's what all of Judaism is based on, that he was going to kill this wonderful, beautiful son that he had, for absolutely no reason except for God told. This is really, and it says in the Tanya that he did it with happiness. So that's the answer. It was called Mesirut Nefesh. Abraham realized that if you want to make the world the way God wants it, then you sometimes have to go, defy the world. You have to defy the world and make blessing. That's sort of what this mimer is talking about. Now, we're talking about taking very high spiritual ideas that we basically have absolutely no idea what they are, because we live in a very normal world, at least I do. And the Rebbe does know what these ideas are, and take these ideas, these spiritual ideas, and make them meaningful in a day-to-day physical way to not just ourselves, religious Jews, but also to the non-Jews and to every single ordinary working man, human being, normal person, right? To inspire every person with these values of how precious life is and how precious every moment is, and to do what God wants. So we'll talk about this now in God willing this time. And that basically is the purpose of Chassidut Chabad. That basically is the purpose. In other words, to build up your soul and understand your soul and have love of God. And then the goal is to be willing to give everything away, at least something, to serve the Creator, not to think about yourself. Which happens to be one of the reasons why in the Bible is not mentioned heaven or hell, even though there certainly is such a thing like that. But to think about that is selfish. And that's why in Chabad, Chassidim, we almost never speak about heaven or hell, except maybe in a joke or something. But it's not a motivation. It's like sort of a disgusting thing. Nobody, at least that I know, is motivated by such a thing of, wanting to go to heaven or going to hell. And if that thought does enter your mind, so it's like, you don't really pay that much attention to it, ideally. It's like a person who's a genuine doctor who just wants to heal people and he's thinking about how much money he's going to make. It's good to make a lot of money, but that's not why you're in the business. Same thing, we're in the business to heal the world. So let's see how much of this we can get and try to understand with God's help.